back?
Yep.
Okay. How you doing today? How many of you know the difference between a psychic and a medium? Okay. We'll go over it. There's a big difference. Not all mediums are, well, not all psychics are mediums, but all mediums are psychic. So there's a difference between the two. A psychic is someone who can get into the energy of someone else and be able to tell the past, present, and future. A lot of times people will be up against a life moment when they have to make a decision on whether to go left or go right or continue going straight. And they'll seek out a psychic because the psychic can tune into their energy and give them better direction. A medium is someone, I refer to a medium as a psychic on steroids because a medium can actually tune into the spirit energy and converse with spirits, whether they are spirits that have lived and have crossed over or maybe earthbound, or spirit energy such as spirit guides. And many times spirit guides are guides that have never lived on this plane. They have always been on the other side, guiding us and working us through our life's mission. As you heard in the intro, I'm also a certified clinical hypnotist, and one of my specialties is past life regression, which means that I believe in reincarnation. I believe that we live life to life, and we come from a source, and our whole purpose, our whole mission of living is that our energy, which can't be created or destroyed, continuously returns back to its original source, and it's working through a progression of getting more refined and working its way back to become just like the original source from which it came from. So in order to do that, you need to go through many different levels of life. It's much like going from first grade to second grade all the way up through college. Each life has purpose. So with that being said, as somebody that believes in reincarnation, it's very important to me that we understand our life's lessons and the way it all plays out in the grand scheme of life. In that grand scheme, we have spirits on the other side, spirit guides, and they're there to help us and guide us. So whether or not it's spirits that have lived or have never lived, I have been blessed with the ability to talk to both sides. Now my gift, just like everyone else's, starts at birth. Everybody comes in this world with the psychic ability. That's why kids often have imaginary play friends. They are seeing spirit, they are interacting with spirit, but children who are older or adults will quite often have the child start tuning that out because it's not socially acceptable to have imaginary friends. So you learn at a very young age how to turn your gift off, tune your gift either out or off completely. I refer to it as much like a cell phone. When you put it on airplane mode, it's always there, but it's never going to ring unless you put it back on the regular, in its regular mode. As someone who comes into the world with the gift, you always have the ability to turn it back on. Sometimes it takes a little more work than other people, but it's always there for you to turn back on. There's also a time where your spirit guides will quickly turn it on for you in a split second, just to help you make a decision that may be life or death. Many of us may have come up against a situation where something was happening and we immediately, with divine intervention, made a split-second change that altered our course, that kept us away from having something negative happen to us. That is an example of your spirit guide stepping in and helping you intuitively make that decision. In years past, I've been coming to American Greens for, I believe, this would have been my 10th year in a row. And it's always been a great time, and we've always had a topic. This year, because your meetings are short, and I've got to keep you guys on time, I decided we were going to do something a little bit different. I wanted to open up the floor immediately to questions and answers. And that way we could get as many questions in as possible before we have to end the topic. So let's start off with questions and answers at this point. Yes, sir.
Hi, besides public speaking, what was your scariest encounter with ghosts?
Scariest encounter with ghosts. Well, I was at the Bisbee building down in Mansfield. Now, the Bisbee building was part of the filming of the Shawshank Redemption, and it's one of the most haunted buildings down in the Mansfield area. And I was there with my wife, who had never gone through a ghost hunt. And we were walking around this building in the middle of the night, and she starts to smell the roses, and she starts to hear different noises. And the guide, who is the person who takes care of the building, as we're walking across the 3rd floor, I jumped out of the way, and he said, "What happened?" I said, "A ball just rolled in front of me." And I said, "It was dark, it just looked like a ball." He said, "Well," he said, "that wouldn't be the ball. That would be the head of a person who was decapitated with the elevator, right, which we were standing right by." So that probably would have been one of the scariest, because I did not see that coming. That was just out of the blue, and it startled me. But also in the basement, there was a young male and a female. The male was about 6 years old, the female, his sister, was 7. And they had suffocated in a cooler. They were playing hide and seek, and it was very sad because they were trapped there, and nobody knew that they were there. And it was when the building was becoming decommissioned, and they found their bodies several weeks later. So that was probably one of the saddest. Next question? Yes?
Spirit guides. Are they like the ghost of someone you knew that passed before you? Or like, what's a spirit guide?
Okay, there's a difference between ghosts and spirit guides. A ghost is typically an energy that is earthbound and that wants to be seen, or wants to create some sort of distraction on the earthly plane. Okay, so that's what we refer to when we talk about ghost energy. Spirit guides is the same energy, but typically on the other side, that's there for guidance and love and peace. So the energy is one and the same. Okay, our energy is in this body while we're living, and as soon as this life ends, this energy has to go somewhere. So it either goes to the other side in most cases, or it may stay earthbound for many different reasons. It could be a tragic ending that the spirit didn't accept at the moment, and didn't go to the light, because they automatically have the option to go in the light instantaneously. But sometimes they get confused and they stay earthbound. Sometimes they stay earthbound because they want to interact with people. They still have a mission, they still have information to give, or they want to feel that they're helping someone, so they decide to stay earthbound. Does that answer your question?
I think so.
The spirit guides can be someone who has lived, or maybe has never incarnated into this world. But it's a guidance. It's kind of like that voice from above that's there to answer questions or steer you in a certain direction based on your life's path.
Okay. Follow-up question.
Yes?
If I don't go into the light, because I have something I want to do, can I do that thing and then go into the light?
Absolutely.
That's always an option to me.
The light's always there.
Okay.
The problem is...
Unless you're dry cleaning and then...
Yeah, the light is always there. Sometimes it's harder to see the longer you stay earthbound, the harder it is to see, and sometimes you need a medium to be able to show you and point you in the direction of light and open up that prism so that they can see the light and go to it. So the medium is a very important role in this whole transition, because a lot of times I've helped a lot of people cross over, a lot of spirit energy cross over, because they couldn't see the light. It's much like the harder you try to see something, the less likely you are to see it. And that's what happens with the spirits. If they want to go to the light, they look really hard and they can't find it. So they need somebody that's earthbound to point them and show it to them. Is your question? Yes.
So how do you turn off airplane mode? How do you
It's probably one of the easiest ways is there's these meditation circles that you could go to, which are they're by psychics and mediums, and you sit around in a circle, and it's not weird, trust me.
We're sitting.
It's people automatically think seances and head spinning around and that, but you're just sitting around and whoever's leading the circle will give a thought, and everybody just meditates, and then you start sharing information, and you realize that the information you're sharing is much like that of someone else's, and so you begin sharing information back and forth, and as you build that skill set, then you're able to transcend that outside the circle to other people. So it's a learned skill. If you don't want to do that, you can go into meditation mode, which is, there's a lot of books, and YouTube has instructions on everything, and you can do a lot of instructional meditation for work on your intuition and your tuning for your psychic abilities.
When did you first realize you had like a knack for this, or that you weren't on airplane mode, to keep using that analogy, yeah.
Okay, my neighbor's house was haunted, and I was the only one that could see the spirits in the attic.
How old were you?
And I was about 6. And shortly thereafter, when they started making fun of me, about 7 is when I learned to tune it out, because I became the weirdo in the neighborhood, and nobody wanted to play with me. So I learned to start tuning it out, and I would continuously see the light, but I couldn't see the spirits anymore. At the age of 14, when my grandmother passed, I wanted to converse with her, and that's when I started turning it back on. And I've kept it on ever since.
Strange question.
Yeah.
So you said you've helped a lot of them cross over. Do they come to you and somehow, or how do you know this spirit
Yes
needed,
and no.
energy needed? Like, do they come knocking on your door? Like, what do they do?
There's times when they come to me, they seek me out, and most of the time, though, it's somebody that has a spirit in their house, in their car, in a certain area, and I go to them, and I find the spirit and I help them cross over. So sometimes I'm brought to the spirit, other times the spirit will come to me. Okay, but typically the spirit, I have to be in the area for the spirit to come to me. A spirit in Chicago is not going to come to Maria to say, hey,
Right.
where's the light?
Do they know who can help them?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, well, because there's that psychic connection.
Okay.
Okay, it's the intuition. You've heard of the collective unconsciousness. It's much like, okay, so you haven't talked to your great aunt in a long time, but all of a sudden you get this thought, hey, you know what? I need to call Aunt Betty because I haven't heard from her in a long time. And then you call her and you realize you really needed to call her because of this or that. That's the collective unconsciousness. We're all connected to it. So it's an intuitive connection, much like the Wi-Fi or the internet, that brings you in connection with everybody that's important to you. So that psychic energy is no different.
Have you been like in a crowded place or just with other people and somebody's come to you to give a message to
Oh,
somebody that?
quite often. Quite often. And as a matter of fact, a few years ago, I had to put up the the veil when I walk into a presentation like this, because in years past, I would start seeing spirits and they'd start trying to give me messages that completely derail the whole speech. So if I'm in a gallery reading, that's acceptable. And that's where, you know, this gift is something that you have to learn to, not only to keep tuned, but you have to know when to turn it on, know when to turn it off, and give the spirits boundaries. Because spirits are timeless. They don't care if it's 3 o'clock in the morning or 3 o'clock in the afternoon. If they want you, they're gonna come find you. If they know you're open for business during these hours, that's when they'll come find you. So you have to set that parameter up with the
So,
spirit.
did you put your boundaries up when you came in here, or is there people in here besides?
Oh, no, I've already put the boundary up before I walked in before I walked in, yes.
Is it because you're doing a speech, or
Yes.
because there's a lot of people?
Yes, well, but yeah, it's because of the speech, and I wanted to stay in conversation mode to answer questions, because it gets really distracting. And in a short presentation like this, when I've got 30 minutes, if a spirit comes in and wants to give a message to Linda, you know, that could take 20 minutes, and then you guys are like, how about me? So,
Yes, I've been in the presence of people who are in the process of passing
mhm.
and have noticed that they see spirits.
Mhm.
Could you just tell us a little bit about that?
Yes. You've all heard about the Rainbow Bridge with the animals. The human bridge is much the same. Spirits that have passed on will come back to us and help us cross over. That's when they originally see the light. Okay. When we're passing, we always have a guide. We always have somebody from our past that's coming forward with us. Many times it's one of our children, or it's a family member, somebody that's important to us. And they will come there and they become the escort. So if you're ever in the presence, and people say it's morbid, but I think it's actually very beautiful when somebody's getting ready to transition and they start talking to someone that has been gone for years. To me, it's very comforting knowing that they are not leaving alone. It's important. Spirit never leaves this world alone. It always has a guide on the other side that's there to help it. Okay? If they choose not to go, that guide will pass over and go back and allow them to remain earthbound. But they will do their best to help them cross over.
I have a question. Okay, so, like say, my grandmother passed away, I'm assuming went to the light, okay? Could she come back?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
From the light and help somebody cross over?
Absolutely. It's once they go to the other side, they can come back and forth many times. Most of the time, the most common is through dreams. They love conversing through dreams, because when you're sleeping, your conscious mind is out and your subconscious mind is connected. The subconscious mind will connect you to that collective of consciousness, so they're able to come right into your subconscious mind and give you the message. And so that's the easiest way for them to converse with you. There are times where they'll manifest, or they'll bring in other signs, which may be smells, or move things that are very pertain to this person, that lets you know, oh, that's grandma.
Right.
So.
I've heard people have told me that.
You've mentioned in other speeches about not buying used things.
Yes.
And I'm a garage sale person. Is there a way to cleanse, because I'm gonna continue doing it, is there a way to cleanse that
Yes.
before I bring it into my house?
People love things. We all love our things. And when you love something, you're putting your energy into it. So when you buy something used, if you buy something new, it doesn't matter. It's going to have energy from someone, whether they made it, they packed it, or they actually purchased it and kept it for themselves. It's going to have their spirit energy with it. The one thing you really want to do is smudge it. Smudge is sweetgrass and sage. You burn it, you say an intentional prayer to relieve the energy and cleanse it before you bring it into the house, because you will bring their energy with it. Story of my wife went to a garage sale. She found a little Indian, which was the ugliest statue I've ever seen. It was just this, I had no idea what it was, but she was drawn to it. She put it in a little curio cabinet. That night, she's got bongo drums. She likes to play bongos. And that night, 3 o'clock in the morning, the bongos started tapping. And I woke up, I said, what's going on? What did you buy? And she said, no, I saw this little statue. And we immediately went out there, and I grabbed my smudge and smudged it and stopped it. But that's the kind of energy that comes with it. Now, it wasn't a negative energy. It wasn't something that was there to hurt us. But it was just an energy that said, hey, guess what? I'm here. Welcome. What's for dinner?
So even if you bring it in the house, you can still smudge it?
You can still
and it'll-
smudge. I recommend smudging your house at least once a month. You know, just because you never know, people bring energy in. You know, the energy comes in many different ways. So smudging is really easy, and it's a lot of people will say, well, what kind of prayer do I say? There's prayers all over the internet, and it's not important what the prayer is. What's important is the intention that you're giving the prayer. So if you search for smudging prayers, you'll find a slew of them. Find something that resonates with you, tweak it, change it, do whatever you want. It's not the prayer, it's the intention. And what you're asking is that only love and light energy remains in the dwelling, and all negative energy must vacate. And that's basically what the smudging does. Smudging is very effective.
Were you ever afraid, and like especially as a child, when you realized, like when you could see those spirits? I mean, did it scare you? Or
Oh, hell yeah.
So when did you realize that, you know what, this is okay? I can.
Yeah, when I was young, it was I used to pull the covers up a lot of times. 2003, I broke my leg and my femur. I was at home after surgery, and I had a shadow figure on top of my chest choking me. It scared my dog jumped up out of bed, ran out of the room, and that scared me. And I immediately invoked the powers of St. Michael, the archangel, to come in, and it vanished. And that was a scary moment. So even today, I'll still come up against some of this energy that's fearful. But you can't let the fear overcome the love and the light, because love and light will always trump fear. So you have to realize, even though you're fearful, in anything in life, fear comes in many different ways. Your strength and your intention will always overcome fear if you let it. Okay?
I've had smells of perfume that my mom or my grandpa, and you said that's them around you, or just letting you know they're there?
Yep, they're coming in just letting you know they're there. It's just one of their ways of communicating with you. And if you really analyze it, you'll realize that it's typically at moments where either you're thinking of them or you're looking for guidance, and they're there to let you know that, hey, I'm still here, just ask.
Okay, so you were talking about, you mentioned shadow figure. I've heard of those, and I've seen one in my house. Are those, if it's a dark figure, is it always a negative entity, or, I don't know, do you?
A shadow figure is it's an energy that it's never manifested in the human form. So it's never actually lived on this life, on this plane. It's an energy from the other side that wants to be seen, wants to create some sort of havoc, but they don't want to be seen in the way that the human being is seen, so they won't manifest into a human shape. Thus, they stay in a black cloak. Many times it's just a steam, a smoke, or some sort of a black image. If you see anything other than the black, the only thing you're going to see is either whites or reds of the eyes. That's it. No other distinguishing notes on shadow people. But they are called shadow people because they like to stay in the shadows. Okay? If a shadow person attacks you, which was my case, that is a negative energy that's coming from the other side that's trying to possess that person, or take their energy away or their life force away from them. So that becomes, that's on the cusp of the demonic side. So, but typically shadow is just energy that's there to create havoc and let you know that they're there and they want to keep you on your edge.
So we'll take one more question.
Okay, one more question.
When you see, do you see somebody, or do you just hear voices, or do you actually see like a presence coming towards you when they wanna talk to you, or you guide them to the light, or?
I'm gifted enough that I can see and I can hear. I see, hear, and feel. So I'm able to do all three of them. So it just depends on the situation and how the spirit wants to be perceived. Sometimes there's a lot of times a spirit doesn't want me to see, they just want to hear, so I'll just get the verbiage through my inner ear and be able to relate back to the person that's.
Do you talk to them like you're talking to me out loud, or do you talk in your head to them? Like, is your wife sitting next to you sometimes and you just are randomly talking to them? Like,
Well, no, that's actually happened, and it's not that I'm talking to them, it's that I'm in human form and I forget that I'm talking to spirit, and it's like it's like sitting in the movie theater and somebody starts talking to you, so you start talking back, not realizing that other people can hear you. So yeah, my wife she's like, I'm watching TV. Go in the other room. So, but typically, if I'm really conversing and trying to get a message, it's just internal, and then I'll verbalize it to the person who's supposed to receive that message. So, well, I'm going to be available afterwards if you want to talk. If you want my information, get a hold of Mary Ann. She's got my number, my email. Reach out to me either way, and I'm here to serve and help you any way I can. So, thank you.
Thank
guys
you.
have a good